Good afternoon. I would like to call to order the regular meeting of the San Bernardino International Airport Authority. Today is Wednesday, May the 25th, 2022, and it is approximately 3:02 p.m. Madam Clerk, if you would please do a roll call.
Certainly. Please state your names for the record. Members from the City of Colton.
Frank Navarro.
Thank you. Please also note Dr. G in the audience. Thank you. Member from the City of Loma Linda. Member Duper is also in the audience. Member from the County of San Bernardino 3rd District.
John Rao.
Thank you. Member from the City of Highland.
Penny Loburn with Larry McCallum in the audience.
Thank you. And member from the City of San Bernardino.
Fred Charette.
Thank you. It looks like we have a quorum.
Hey, can we call Mr. Duper up to the dais, please? Okay. Closed session. Any public comment for closed session, Madam Clerk?
I have no public comments in front of me, and it doesn't look like anyone's approaching the dais, so no.
Okay, at this time we're going to recess into closed session, and we will reconvene shortly. Thank you. Okay, well, we convene now. It's still in closed session. If our attorney could please read us out of closed session.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, as to item number 1, there was no reportable action taken in closed session.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the open session. Again, this is the regular meeting of the San Bernardino International Airport, Wednesday, May 25th, 2022. And it is approximately 3:14 p.m. Madam Clerk, once again, would you please do roll call?
Yes, please state your names for the record. Members from the City of Colton.
Frank Navarro.
Dr. G is in the audience, thank you. Members from the City of Loma Linda.
Dusty Rigsby and Phil Duper's in the audience.
Thank you. Member from the County of San Bernardino, 3rd District.
Don Rao.
Thank you. Members from the City of Highland.
Penny Lilburn with Larry McCallum in the audience.
Thank you. And member from the City of San Bernardino.
Fred Charette.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any items to be added or deleted from the agenda, Madam Clerk?
None.
Thank you. Item F, conflict of interest disclosure by members of the commission. Any members wishing to declare a conflict? Hearing none and seeing none, we'll move on to informational items. Mr. Burrows.
Just wanted to make a brief comment. This morning, we were able to participate with our Regional Export Council in support of international trade, or International Trade Month, I should say. And Department of Commerce staff were in attendance and were very pleased and very, very excited about the opportunities here at SBD. So after that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Gibbs. He's got a couple of updates on a few other items. Mark?
Thank you, Mike. The first one is an update on what's happening with Breeze these days. As you all know, we're really excited to have our first commercial service at SBD International Airport, and that begins on August 4th. So on May 8th, they announced the new service. We're actually part of a West Coast expansion. And if you go to the next page, Jennifer, you notice that the map at San Bernardino has changed a little bit. So initially that flight was between San Bernardino and San Francisco, and then on May 8th, the company announced an additional city pair, which is also Provo, Utah. So Provo is part of the greater Salt Lake City metro area. It's about 40 miles south of Salt Lake City Airport and provides access to that entire region. And this is also a daily flight. So it's a pass-through. It's not an additional flight. So to get to Provo, you go from San Bernardino to San Francisco and continue on the same flight without getting up and off the airplane and checking in on a different flight. You simply stay there and you make your way over to Provo. And again, that's daily as well. So makes booking a little bit easier. And we're pretty excited to see that announcement. So on May 8th, what you can see on the map there that is colored in pink, those are the new routes. And I think it's worthy to point out that what you see around the country on this very quickly expanding network, this has all happened with this company in a year. So their West Coast expansion continues to grow. We'll see where it takes us from here, but we're excited to share that information with you. If you did book a flight, you'll notice that the times changed. And that is precisely because of the Provo addition to the SBD network. So that shifted the flight times a little bit, and I believe everyone has received notice of that, but if you have not, the arrival at SBD is now at 11:40 a.m., and the flight departs from San Bernardino at 1:55 p.m., makes its way on to San Francisco, and from there on to Provo, Utah. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on that.
Any comments or questions from commissioners?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Mr. Charette.
That map looks like a lot of spaghetti. It's
It
kinda hard to
does, isn't
read.
it great? Yeah.
We're going to from San Bernardino to San Francisco, and then it's hard to tell, but do I see a dotted line going down to Tampa?
No.
Okay.
No, the flight from San Bernardino continues on to Provo.
But I mean, if you change planes
You can,
in San Francisco.
yeah, and that's one of the great things about
So in
San
other words,
Francisco as the
I
first
could book
market.
from San Bernardino to Tampa via San Francisco.
Well, really from San Francisco, you can pretty much get anywhere in the country and the world, which is
Right.
why we're very pleased to see that as our first connecting market.
Okay, good. Well,
The only difference on that, Fred, I'm sorry, just to clarify, if you were to continue on to Provo, you would not get off the airplane. But if you were going to go to Orlando or Palm Beach or anywhere else in their network,
you'd have
you'd
to
have to
change
get off.
planes in San Francisco.
Exactly.
But you could still book just through one airline, through Breeze.
Correct.
They would let me book to San Francisco and then make arrangements for me to change planes to Tampa in this case.
Yes, you'd book a separate flight.
Okay.
And you could do that on Breeze, onto one of their other destinations from
I
San
have a
Francisco.
reason for Tampa, family, what have you, but this is pretty exciting about what's going on with Breeze and what they're talking about in there, and it looks like it's happening maybe faster than we had hoped even. So that's great. And
We're pleased to see it too.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Mr. Grigsby.
My question is, I noticed we're very close to Los Angeles. Is there any talk that if we do a good job, they might transfer those flights to San Bernardino for this market?
You know, I can't really speak for Breeze's flight planning, but I can tell you they view us as a separate market from Los Angeles. So Los Angeles being the second largest market in the country, our market, the Inland Empire, is the 12th largest in the country, and they view those separately. So you'll see initially some longer flights out of Los Angeles that are mostly across the country, taking advantage of their fleet type. But they view it as two separate markets.
I like that word initially. Thank you.
Can I ask one question?
Go ahead.
Just for a point of clarification. So you're telling me on that inaugural flight, it's going from San Bernardino to San Francisco to Provo and back here the same day? Or you stay the night there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So initially, the airplane started its day in San Bernardino and then went up to San Francisco, but that's changed. So now that same airplane starts its day in Provo, makes its way to San Francisco, comes to San Bernardino, and then goes the other direction. So we're not the beginning of that airplane's day. We're on the return. Yeah, it's reversed.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you were going to San Francisco, you would take the plane out of San Bernardino sometime in the afternoon.
Yes, yeah. Our flight departs San Bernardino at 1:55 p.m. now, instead of 8 a.m.
And goes to Provo.
San Francisco.
It goes to San Francisco and then continues on to Provo.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? Any public comment on this item?
No public comments.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gibbs, I think you have the next item also?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The next item is about FAA grant projects. And I think it's important to note that San Bernardino International is part of the National Plan of Integrated Airports. We call it NIPIAS for short because it's a fun acronym to say mostly. But funding from the FAA comes from the Airport and Airways Trust Fund, and it serves airports around the country, including San Bernardino. And the funds that are provided for AIP projects can only be spent on things like safety and capacity and noise compatibility, airport security, those kind of things. And what's really interesting about AIP projects, or AIP funding, I guess I should say, is that if you don't use aviation, you don't pay into those funds, right? So it's a user fee system entirely. But we've got some really exciting projects that we've thrown our hat in the ring and we stand a good chance of being awarded in the very near future. But that includes two projects that are on your agenda today for construction. One of those is for the runway project, and the other one is for the taxiway shoulders project. We've also got requests into the FAA for additional funding relating to the control tower and also for development of additional air service markets. So we hope to hear a positive response from the FAA soon, particularly on the construction project. We should know more in the coming weeks. But we wanted to relay that to you as your airfield continues to grow and improve, and it's an important funding process for us, particularly as we move into commercial service. The entitlement funds for the airport, once we have passengers, will continue to grow and be a dedicated source to fund some of the massive infrastructure that we have here at the airport. And that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you.
And then I would just buttress that, that in addition to the FAA pots, of course, we also regularly pursue Department of Commerce, and have had good success there. On June the 9th, we agreed to participate in a energy summit, a first of its kind. It'll be at Bear Springs Hotel, just up the road, and a number of Department of Energy personnel will be there, as well as a lot of utility companies, SoCalGas and others, to kind of crack the code of Department of Energy funding, which we've never really received since the base closed. So Amber will be punching out information on that event. Again, if not tonight, it'll be first in the morning. And then I'll make sure you guys get flyers from me as well, because I was talking to Mayor McCallan, and depending on which system she's using, not all of those are getting through to everybody. So just want to make sure we beat that drum a little bit further, so you're getting the information timely. And again, we want you and your staffs to have the information along with everybody else here in the IE. So that concludes our reports.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on the agenda, we come to the commission consent items. That's items number 3 through number 11. Anybody wishing to pull items from the consent calendar?
Mr. Chair, number 7 and 8, please.
Number 7 and 8, okay. Any other requests from commissioners? Okay. Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Charette to move the balance of the consent calendar. That's items 3 through 8 minus 7, through 11 minus 7 and 8. A second by Mr. Rigsby. Madam Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Yes, we have a motion to move items 3 through 6 and 9 through 11. Motion by Member Charette and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. Those items pass unanimously. Those items.
All right, we'll move on to item number 7. Supervisor?
So I asked Mr. Burrows, I was confused as to why these were on consent. They seem that they are controversial potentially, and they are not routine in matter. So I was curious first and foremost why they made it on consent, and then I had some questions about both agenda items.
Absolutely. I'll and again, thank you for your call on that. The ratification nature of our policy was sort of the overriding thing that got it on consent, but in hindsight, we should have probably put it on discussion. So that was, our error. But as to the order of magnitude of the issue, it certainly warrants discussion, and appreciate that. I would like Mr. Cousineau to kind of walk through what the issues were, so that the commission and the public can understand if that meets with your approval.
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Cousineau?
Thank you. So what we have here in both these items are related, but I think the key one is number 8, which is EPIC. That one in particular, I think it's first very important to be clear that it did not affect our cash disbursements. There were no disbursements made to EPIC without an invoice that was matched to a receiving document for fuel. But where the problem arose, if I was going in and putting on my old auditor hat, the criteria is management should be recognizing when internal and external conditions change to adjust internal controls. And what happened is we did not recognize, we knew that we were getting our invoices late, but we didn't recognize the threat. And the threat was we were losing transparency into the delay that receiving the invoices did. So we were 6 to 8 weeks out with EPIC invoices before we were receiving them. And what that did, when we do budgetary control, it's when the invoices are recorded as an expenditure. Even though we have a purchase order for budgetary control, it's at the annual level, and basically a blanket purchase order. So we lost transparency. It was like having a smoke screen. And we did not adjust our internal controls. And that adjustment in internal controls was basically taking all the orders we knew we made and looking at the deliveries that we received and kind of adding them to what was already recorded in expenditures to be able to forecast when we were going to go over the annual budget amount. Now, the annual budget amount is more a reflection of what's going on in the petroleum market, where we've had an increase of triple what we were paying last year. Last year, we were paying less than $10,000 for a truckload. This year, right now, we're paying over $30,000. So that's really the mechanics of what caused it. And the actions we've taken since then is to provide, finance has provided some tracking worksheets to be able to use by the FBO, as well as we're in the process of hiring a business specialist who is going to focus on budgetary control and inventory and other expenditures. And any other questions?
I think I just have one. So the fiscal impact states that the costs were recovered with a profit at the time of the sale, but there were actually no actual dollar figures for either item. Do you know what those costs were?
No, because I'd have to go back and actually tie them to every single invoice. However, I can tell you what we paid through March. As soon as I yank out a piece of paper. So what we're looking for actuals our fuel sales was $40,884,362 through March 22nd. I thought I ran March 31st. My apologies. Total cost of goods sold for that period was $34,422,444. That still isn't a good number because we're still missing some of the invoices at that point in time.
Very
But
good.
that's
Okay.
kind of where the magnitude is at that point.
Thank you very much. I'll go ahead and move the item if nobody else has any questions.
Any other questions on items 7 or 8? Is that for both items?
We can take them separately since I pulled them.
All right, so we'll do item
I'll
7.
second.
Is that item 7 first? You have a second? Okay, I have a first and a second to approve item number 7 on the consent calendar. And let's do the vote, please.
Yes, we have a motion by Member Rao and a second by Member Charette to approve item number 7. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes?
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve item number 8 on the consent.
So moved.
Moved by Supervisor Rao,
And I'll second that.
second by Councilmember Charette. And if you would please do a roll call.
Thank you. We have a motion to move item number 8 by Member Rao and a second by Member Charette. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes?
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously as well.
Thank you. Moving on to item I on the commission action items, item number 12.
To the chair, one comment that Mr. Huber just made is, if it pleases the commission, we jumped over the Pledge of Allegiance. So,
I am so sorry.
just
Mr.
wanted to bring
Charette,
that.
would you please?
Sure. Join me, please, as we pledge to our flag. Ready? Begin.
The United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Again, my apologies for that oversight. Okay, item number 12 is to consider and adopt proposed budget amendments for fiscal year 21-22. Mr. Cosino, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We have before you budget adjustments that are significant, at least dollar-wise. We're increasing our estimated revenues for the year by $37,300,000 and a few extra dollars, as well as expenditures to the tune of $34,984,600. The net increase in revenues, or estimated revenues over expenditures, is $2,315,422. The primary, the largest item, a component of this, is related actually to items number 7 and 8, which is the increase in fuel costs from last year when we prepared the budget. And we're looking at an increase in fuel revenues here of $30,885,000 and an increase in cost of goods sold or inventory purchases of $30,081,000. The next largest item is the good news piece that has already been covered by Mr. Gibbs, federal grant awards. We are increasing our expenditures for capital projects in this area. one for the joint seal on the runway, another one for the rehabilitation of the taxiway's shoulders to the tune of $4,828,600, and that includes grant revenues anticipated to be received of $6,395,022. And there are some other smaller budget items that are related to passenger readiness and just needs of new software within the airport. With that, that concludes my report. Be happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions from commissioners on item number 12? Any public comment?
No public comments.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve item 12?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Rigsby. Chair will entertain a second. Thank you. Second by Councilperson Milburn. Madam Clerk, you can do the roll call vote.
Thank
If would,
you.
please.
We have a motion by Member Rigsby and a second by Member Lilburn. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
And Member Schreck?
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 13. Moving on to item number 13, and this is to approve amendment number 3 to the professional services agreement with Hernandez, Kroon and Associates in an amount not to exceed $20,000 for professional engineering services. And Mr. Burrows.
So commissioners may recall there's a little project down the street on 3rd Street that San Manuel is working on called the Landing by San Manuel. It's only 1 million square feet or so. You know, you might, it's a lot of concrete, yes.
Huge.
But they are making good progress, happy to report, getting a lot of market interest in that. But we as the airport have an impact as part of that development, and Hernandez Kroon has been our engineer to help plan check and inspect the various improvements to roadway systems and utilities. And as the work continues, those costs continue to be passed on through to San Manuel, yet we have to incur the expense in order to record the revenue. So we think this will definitely get us through not just the end of fiscal, but hopefully the tail end of our portion of the project offsites. And so far, so good. So they're putting deck up as we speak.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments from commissioners?
Just a quick question.
Please
But you
do.
have an agreement with San Manuel for the
We do,
reimbursement?
yeah. So they actually have to get permits from us, and those
Yeah.
permits require them to, pro rata to be able to reimburse us as costs are incurred.
Okay.
And they've been very good about that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any public comment on this item?
No public comments.
Thank you. I need a motion. to
Okay, I
approve.
move approval of amendment number 3 to help the landing take off.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion by Councilmember
second.
Rigsby and a second by Councilperson Lilburn. Madam Clerk, would you please do the roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. We have a motion by Member Rigsby and a second by Member Lilburn. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
And Member Schreck?
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 14. And this is to approve a service agreement with Prodigio Incorporated for claims management and certificate of insurance, tracking software modules at an amount not to exceed $108,000 over a 5-year term. Ms. Pritchett, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Good afternoon. Currently, the airport uses 5 different Prodigic systems with 9 separate modules. Approval of this item will add 2 additional insurance modules that will assist staff with managing insurable losses as well as internal and external certificates of insurance. Staff did our due diligence in participating in a number of demonstrations and other available software programs. However, being that Prodigic does contain a large amount of our data, including lease information, building locations, asset details, making a decision to stick with Prodigic and use their software was a breeze. Funding for this project was included in today's earlier budget adjustment, and it does include implementation, training, annual support for both platforms. So if there's no questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Comments or questions from members of the commission on this item? Hearing none. Any public comment on this item?
No public comments.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve item number 14.
Move approval.
Coun- Councilmember Rigsby, Councilperson Milburn, first and second to approve item 14. Madam Clerk, vote please.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Rigsby and a second by Member Lilburn. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro.
Yes.
Member Rigsby.
Yes.
Member Rao.
Yes.
Member Lilburn.
Yes.
And Member Schreck.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passed unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 15. This is the approval of a contract for Eid Bailey LLP for auditing and accounting services of fiscal years ending June 30th, 2022 through June 30th, 2024, with two options for the fiscal years ending June 30th, 2025 and June 30th, 2026, in an amount not to exceed $266,337. Mr. Cosino, please.
Thank you. I'll make this brief. We went out for requests for proposals. We advertised the RFP as well as reached out to audit firms that were listed on the State Controller's website for governmental audits. We received 3 proposals. Eid Bailey was the highest rated, as well as also happened to be the lowest cost. And so we selected them. They are a local firm in the sense that they are located in the Inland Empire. Their main office is Rancho Cucamonga, and they are a very good firm. They're formerly VTD, Vavrinic, Trine and Day, and have audited a great deal of governments in Southern California as well as all over California. And with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you. Comments or questions on item number 15 from commissioners? Hearing none, any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve item 15.
Move approval.
Second.
Councilmember Rigsby, motions to approve, second by Supervisor Rao. Madam Clerk?
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Rigsby and a second by Member Rao. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro.
Yes.
Member Rigsby.
Yes.
Member Rao.
Yes.
Member Lilburn.
Yes.
And Member Schreck.
Yes.
Thank you. The item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item 16. Approve the award of a construction contract to Goss Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $388,340 for runway 624 joint and spall repair project subject to final grant award by the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration. Mr. Gibbs, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This project would award a contract to Goss Construction Company for this is going back to the earlier report, this is a project that would be funded by the FAA through the AIP program, and they would provide 90% of the project funding to complete the construction. That's about a little over $3.8 million. The project was bid originally in November, and bids were received in January. We've held those bids pending the FAA grant award, which should be coming our way. We're very hopeful very soon. So this, again, this one we are seeking your approval to award the project subject to that grant award from the FAA. It's an important project to us. This would essentially replace all of the joint seals between each of the concrete slabs that make up your runway. And it would also repaint the runway and do minor concrete repairs while they're in there doing construction. I think it's also important to add that construction activity would all take place during the night, which would minimize the disruptions of our current tenants at the airport. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions from commissioners?
I was just
Rigsby?
curious why the bids were so disparate.
Yep.
We received 2 responsive bids. Both of them were qualified contractors. This can be a difficult time in the contracting community. A lot of contractors are very busy, but it is somewhat specialized work. It doesn't seem like it would be simply replacing joint seal material to the detriment of contractors of Christmases past. That has not been the case. It is a specialized niche. Not a lot of companies do it, and consequently, we didn't get a huge response, but we did go through all of the public advertising requirements that meet the FAA's criteria when we bid public projects. So we advertised for over 30 days. We reached out to anyone and everyone we knew, posted it on our website, and tried to cast that net as broadly as we could.
Did we have anything approximating an engineer's estimate to see if these are, like, are they both blow-off bids that are double what they should be and one was triple?
Yeah, we did. That's a great question. So this project actually came in below the engineer's estimate, which was $4.5 million, roughly. So it is a very good bid. We've actually done work with both of these companies in the past. Both of them are qualified contractors, and they're two valid bids.
Let's hope we don't see $2 million in change orders.
Right.
Well, fortunately, that's a great point. The engineer that designed this, we procured through the FAA process, which is extremely thorough. So AECOM has been ranked number one in our industry for these type of projects for many decades. And anytime we bid an AECOM project, change orders almost don't exist. So it's a very tight bid package, and we're confident that they'll meet this number.
And then I would just give a bit of a highlight to Mr. Galvin and his team, because unlike projects past, his operations officers through our UAS technology actually can fly the sections of the runway using Esri site scan to verify how much material is actually put down. So we've got a lot of CM controls that are, you know, really cutting edge that I can't wait to see in action. So Mr. Barrow's going to have eyes in the sky.
Good. Okay. Any public comment on this item?
No public comments.
Chair will entertain a motion for item number 16.
Move approve. Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Charette to approve and a second by Councilmember Rigsby for item number 16. Madam Clerk, vote please.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Charette and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Rao?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
And Member Charette?
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 17. This is to approve award of a construction contract with to Griffith Company in the amount of $3,983,650 for taxiway shoulder improvement project, subject to final grant award by the U.S. Department of Transportation Federal Aviation Administration. Mr. Gibbs, again.
Thank you, Mayor. This project would award a construction contract to Griffith Company, to your point, in the amount of just under $4 million. And this is another project that would be funded by the AIP program through the FAA, who would provide 90% of the project funding for it. This project also was designed by AECOM, and similar to the other one, we received 2 responsive bidders for the project. One was from All American Asphalt in the amount of $4.7 million, and one was for Griffith Company for $3.98 million. I think it's also important to note, to the supervisor's earlier point, the contractors are required to have, they're required to bond for these projects, both for bidding and performance. And one of the FAA's policies that comes with receiving the grant award is we are required to go with the lowest responsive bidder, and they view the bonding requirements as confirmation that these guys can do the work and will do the work, and if they don't, we pull their bond. So that's one of the requirements on from the federal side. But again, this project funds an important construction project for us. Our shoulders throughout the taxiway systems, what you see are the shoulders out there that have not been improved over the years. These date back to the Norton Air Force Base days. They are in need of repair. Most of them are in failed condition. So we're excited to see this. It will help a lot of things throughout the airport, increase safety and occasional passage of ARF rigs and such, and help minimize what we call foreign object debris on our taxiways and make it a safer operating environment for our customers. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbs. Comments or questions? Mr. Rigsby, please.
Does the repair include underlayment, or is that intact and it just needs asphalt? Is it like the support structure underneath for heavy aircraft, or is it just bumpy on the surface?
It does. So consistent with the FAA's criteria, if they're going to fund the project, they take a very conservative approach to it. So these would include the sub-base materials to compact up through. It's typically 90, 95, 98, 100% compaction underneath. For runways, for taxiways, it gets up to 98% typically underneath the layers. But yeah, that's for the sub-base material, as well as the FAA specifications for asphalt placement on top. And most of those taxiways, I think it's important to note as well, they range between, some of our taxiways are wider than are necessary because they're original Air Force construction, and some of them meet current criteria. So some of the shoulders are wider than others. They range from 17.5 feet to 35 feet for that reason. But it's a significant amount of asphalt pavement. Aircraft typically do not drive over these, but occasionally do, and so they have to be prepared so they don't sink a wheel in the soft soils out there.
Any other comments or questions? Any public comment on this item?
No public comments.
Did you?
I'll move the item.
Okay, I have a motion by.
Second.
I have a motion by Lilburn and a second by Rigsby to approve item number 17. To the vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Lilburn and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your votes for the record. Member Navarro.
Yes.
Member Rigsby.
Yes.
Member Rao.
Yes.
Member Lilburn.
Yes.
And Member Schredt.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 18 is a receive and file. It's a review of status of the action plan for the San Bernardino International Airport Authority. Mr. Burrows, if you would, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So obviously, much like your respective organizations, Mr. Cousineau and the entire team are in budget, not just budget adjustment. And we're on track to have your draft budgets before you at your next meeting, on time, hopefully. And on the international trade front, I do want to also mention that we have received good support from our National Export Council. These are folks all across the country, but convene in DC. They had their executive meeting last week, and we have reached out to them to support expansion of our U.S. Customs capabilities here. So obviously that has been a very important element for our airport. We certainly want to retain that because with the supply chain crisis still out there upon us, those capabilities for the freight forwarding and shipping community are vital to the region, but also to the global economy. So they did give SBD a good big thumbs up, as did our Regional Export Council. So making some progress there, and hope to have a more lengthy report for you at a future meeting.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes my report.
Any comments or questions on this item? Any public comment on this?
No public comments on this item.
Okay. Commission member comments. Mr. Charette? Thank you. Milburn?
No, just confirming tomorrow the.
Yeah, thank you. So the fuel farm, 11:30. So there was a couple calls that we got between 11 or 11:30. It's 11:30. You go to Luxair, and then we'll take care of you from there. Really excited to have you meet the build team, which includes our contractor, but also our design engineer, and well, many of your staff out there that have worked on it. So should be a good time, and we'll get you in and out and taken care of quickly, but should be some nice snacks as well. So thank you.
Mr. Rigsby?
Nothing.
Supervisor Rao?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much for myself. Thank you, staff, for today's meeting. Thank you for the reports. Thank you for the information regarding the grants from the FAA. That's going to help us tremendously on the safety of our runways and the shoulder paving and everything that we're doing out here in the airport. I ask a question on the one that you went to Washington, D.C., where you got the international logistics thing. Does that help us in any way getting closer to international commercial flights?
It would, because whether it's air cargo, whether it is a business jet coming internationally to Luxair, or it's an air passenger operation internationally, the customs officers are needed for all of those things. and obviously scalability of that. We've done, as an organization, the tough work, which is the strategic investment in the physical plant, which meets all of their standards, but ensuring that not only the market opportunity is there, that gets met with proper staffing, not overstaffed, of course, because Customs does it based on demand. And we're building more and more demand, not just in international charter, but it would also be available to support international passenger, which we are designed to handle and would love to do, so.
Okay, thank you. Therefore, no other business to attend to for the Airport Authority.
And for the record, there are no open session public comments.
I'm sorry?
No open session public comments.
I'm sorry, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, there being no other business to attend to, this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you. Good job.